What's up, everybody? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick.
I'm Jammin John.
And we have yet another album review for you, and one that we've been very excited about because, well, we love this band. So we are going to go over the latest offering from Autopsy: Ashes, Organs, Blood, and Crypts. This comes out on the 27th of October on Peaceville Records. This band formed in 1987 in Oakland, California. This is their 10th full-length overall. We went over their last album, Morbidity Triumphant, last year. And believe me, I was a little surprised to see that Autopsy already had one in the bag and ready to go by this year.
Yeah, last year, right around this time.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
And I don't understand, man. Chris Reifert is a busy dude.
Absolutely. I went over The Last Siege of Power, which is his project with some of the guys from Asphyx. We also went over the latest offering from Static Abyss, which actually features Greg Wilkinson, who's also in Autopsy. So I was kind of wondering, where the hell does he find time to... I don't know. But I'm not complaining because this is Autopsy. This is one of the grossest, nastiest, most raw, old-school death metal bands there is. They're all about the gore, the guts, the riffs, and man, did they come back with another nasty slab of just gross awesomeness.
It blows my mind, you know, just, again, in finding the time to do this and to come back with something this killer. I'm just gonna say it right off the bat, like, this record slays. And when I say this record is killer, it starts from the very get-go. First of all, great production, huge, squawky, grimy guitars, and the warmest bass tone I think I've ever heard for something like this. I mean, now Greg Wilkinson mixed this, and I realize he's the bassist, and, you know, when you have a member of the band that, you know, plays something and also mixes the record, I mean, granted, their part is probably gonna stick out a little bit, but, like, it just sounds so beautiful. And the drums have this amazing, like, natural sound to them. They sit so nicely in the mix. It just, I'll let you talk about songs.
Yeah, I mean, sonically this album sounds great. I mean, Greg mixed the last one. I thought it sounded great. Once again, his bass work is prominent, but everything is, like, still grimy and gross as hell, but somehow they found a way to kind of mix this so everything stands out. Like, the guitars aren't muddy, neither is the bass. The drums are nice and audible. And then you have Chris's insane vocals on top of that. Still one of my favorite death metal vocalists of all time. No one hams it up like Chris Reifert.
Except maybe John Tardy.
Maybe John Tardy. I don't know. Like, there's, like, an element of, like, theatrical insanity to Chris's delivery. Like, he's doing Shakespeare in the Park, except it's like Macbeth and it's all the gory scenes. Like, that would totally work. Actually, I would pay to fucking see that. Yeah,
the vocals sit, like, at a nice midpoint for a majority of the delivery, but then they're also in the back and out in front, and a lot of the atmosphere is actually done by Chris Reifert.
Yeah, Chris does a lot of, like, extra stuff with his vocals to add a layer of, like, horror camp and, like, extra just disgust to these songs. Of the opening track, Rabid Funeral, when it gets down to the deathdoom breakdown, because believe me, we're going to talk about some deathdoom breakdowns in here. Ooh. He does this slow gurgle behind it, and I was actually, like, kind of wondering if that was, like, some extra atmosphere behind it, because everything on here, it doesn't sound like there's a lot of extra stuff. It's guitar, bass, drums, maniacal vocals, and that is pretty much it. So he has this, like, long gurgle behind this breakdown, and it adds this just extra creepy layer of atmosphere. And on the punky barn burner Toxic Death Fuck, that's a great song name, he actually starts coughing and gagging in there. I mean, maybe he read his own lyrics on that, because the lyrics to that song are pretty damn gross, but he does a lot of extra stuff to add atmosphere, and then the rest of it is supplied by just absolutely excellent riff work.
I can't say enough good things about the riffs. Like, normally a death metal album has riffs in it, and you're like, man, that was a good batch of riffs. The riffs are just non-stop. It doesn't matter what they're doing. It doesn't matter if it's doom or if it's thrash or if it's almost grindy in some parts, like the beginning of Throat Saw. Very, like, Napalm Death in the beginning, actually.
Yeah, there's still a lot of punk to, like, all the stuff they do.
A lot of punk and a lot of thrash, but, man, it's just non-stop fucking riffs. And they're all ascending or descending crawls. Like, the melody is just very dominant and everything. Like, they've found this way to just put together everything nicely, even though it's vastly different on every song.
Like stitching together organs and flesh metaphorically. Like, I don't think they're really doing that right. I don't know. They might be. The thing that I really liked on here is the variety of riff work, though, and how it kind of works into songs. Like, you get some more, like, almost stoner doom melodies that pop up, like on Marrow Fiend and the title track. There's some riffs on there that actually kind of remind me a lot of, like, High on Fire or The Sword, like the
Baroness.
early Sword. Yeah.
Yep.
And then with their, naturally sharp, jagged transitions, like, this can go from, like, almost a full stop to just... and we're going. This is almost designed to just wreck necks and confuse pits in terms of, like, what speed we're going. But it can just drastically shift to thrash riffs. Marrow Fiend has an amazing, like, almost kind of Iron Maiden breakdown, but it's like death metal tremolos. Like, you hear a very Iron Maiden sort of beat, like almost something that could have been pulled off of Killers. But you're playing this, kind of descending, ugly tremolo with great harmonies on it. And it kind of has this, again, like, interesting retro feel. It's kind of like their version of Iron Maiden, which means this Iron Maiden is the actual Iron Maiden, the torture device, and it is definitely full of, like, punctured corpses.
And another time they do that again, too, where they volley back and forth between styles. They do it towards the end of Coagulation, where it goes thrashy doomy, punky, thrashy doomy, like, over and over and over again. And, like, every time you think that they're going to transition out of something and stick with it, they go back to the thing that there was before it.
And hearing Chris's vocals change from those parts, like, sometimes he is just sort of following the beat and, just doing, kind of the standard Chris stuff, which is still really exceptional. And then he'll just break into, like, a full-on rant of just deranged lunacy. Like, he sounds like he's losing his mind while mutilating a body.
And read the lyrics. Just do me a favor and read the lyrics, especially to Toxic Death Fuck, the grimy two-step demolish phobophilic melody fest that it is. Just read the lyrics.
Read his thanks list, too. His thanks list is honestly one of the best I've seen in a while.
And although we've said punk and thrash and a bunch of wonderful speedy things, Doom City, oh my god. Pretty much from Well of Entrails, which has this huge, evil, doomy Candlemass type, just grimy, bendy chug in it. I'm telling you, all over this record, Doom City, and it's done so well, and it sounds so good, and just so many times you just go like, ugh.
Oh, yeah. No, I had to, like, fix my face several times and kind of rearrange the musculature because it's just instant stank face. You hear these bends, these crawls, these long, gurgled, chaotic vocals. It all just kind of blends together like a perfect storm of just bleak, awful... It's gross. It is flat out gross. And honestly, like, when it comes down to deathdoom breakdowns, I am always reminded every time I listen to an Autopsy album that Autopsy is just still one of the best at it. Like, again, they can just go full stop and then into an absolutely filthy breakdown that will literally melt your face.
Most of Lobotomizing Gods is done in like a halftime Doom thing. Like, this is like ultra fucking Doom, but it's just the gnarliest stank-faced, just, I even wrote down, stank-faced gnar.
Yeah, no, that's accurate. But here's the cool thing, they can do it with melody too, which I was really, not super surprised by, but melody is not something you often associate with Autopsy. Autopsy, you're there for the guts, the gore, the grime, the filth, and they will serve it to you on a platter full of entrails every time. Unless you're counting shit fun, then they will serve you a turd on a paper plate. But Well of Entrails, Bones to the Wolves, and Coagulation have some absolutely amazing harmonies, especially Well of Entrails and Bones to the Wolves. There's almost like a Middle Eastern sort of like doom harmony to it. And honestly, it kind of sounds like if you took like a Nile song and slowed down the breakdown on a Nile song to like 1/8 speed, because they are slow, they are miserable, but at the same time, they're kind of epic. And epic is, another adjective I generally don't associate with Autopsy, but
right.
they absolutely nail it here. But on the other side, Coagulation, the the harmonies on that song are some of the most disgusting on the entire album. Like, it is harmonized misery. These guitars sound like they are weeping and moaning, but for deathdoom fans, it is the most tuneful thing on the planet.
Oh man, it just gave me chills. I was like, man, this is so good. Now, we mentioned epic, and there's something I don't want to leave out for sure, especially since the man mixed the record. Dude, Greg Wilkinson's bass work on here is top notch on all of it. Get into songs like Rabid Funeral, Throat Saw, No Mortal Left Alive, and really all over this record.
Yeah.
Most of the times, towards like the end of the song, after the breakdown, after the band's like final run, they'll end it with like this kind of like funky bass-driven groove. And the bass work is just spectacular. I mean, he's doing all sorts of crawly things, that the guitars are doing, but like it sounds funky and warm and like welcoming almost.
It's strange that, I would even say like he's doing like leads, like bass lead runs, and he picks his spots really well. Like there are sections where you have these huge droning riffs. They're dissonant. They're just, miserable as hell. But underneath you have this sort of like, snake-like bass line kind of slithering through and providing like a really cool like melodic backbone behind this just miserably gross song. And I was going to write down like every moment where he did that, but it's like every track.
Yeah.
And again, he picks his spots well. It doesn't come across as like showboaty or too flashy. He's adding like a really cool layer of melody to these songs, but at the same time, it does not take away from the gritty, disgusting nature of it. In fact, there's only like one break on here in terms of clean playing, and that is the outro to the title track, which kind of, I don't know, like shifts to a smoky lounge bar.
Yeah, it's like a sleuthy fucking like, hey.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, all right. We'll take some requests. Tip your bartender. But yeah, that's the only moment of quiet reflection on this entire album. The rest of it is just go for the throat the entire time. And man, there was part of me that was kind of worried about this one. Because again, it was a year later. Like,
right.
Some bands kind of like, all right, we got all this material. And, they saved some of the material for another release. Like, I was afraid that this might be just leftovers from Morbidity Triumphant.
Like B-sides or something.
Which, Morbidity Triumphant was a killer album. I dig the fuck out of that. Like, that album cover also still rules. This one's also just super gross and amazing. But anyway, I was kind of afraid that we would get, like, the leftovers. Autopsy leftovers are probably still really good anyway. But after going through this, we might have got like possibly a slightly better meal here than Morbidity Triumphant, and that's bold because that album whoops ass.
And for those of you that watch the channel that like just see me say whoop ass, it's this album.
Yeah,
this album through and through.
This album essentially it does everything that I want Autopsy to do, but I think on this one it's just more dynamic. I found more songs that just immediately jumped out at me for songwriting, for melodies, for amazing Chris Reifert rants. Yeah, this is this is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I really don't have any gripes, to be honest. Like, the production is perfect for what this is. Every song is engaging. I'm gonna go ahead and give this 4.5 stars. The melodies are so catchy and so in your face all the time. Like, every song, just immediately you find something that you're in love with, and you're just like, oh my god, that's fucking sick. Tons of dynamic shifts. Like, every song will shift 3 or 4 or 5 times in between styles and do it at the drop of a hat. And, like, the transitions are perfect, and I spent so much time just going, ugh. And, like, that's what I want out of Autopsy. I agree with you. I didn't know what we were going to get into because it being so, quick between the last release, but god damn is this an awesome record. If you're a fan of Incantation or God.
No, not him. I don't recommend it. If you're a fan of God, maybe stay away from this one.
Cannibal Corpse, Exhumed, Disma. Just a conglomeration of all the wonderful things about death metal. If you're a fan of any of that, you're gonna love this. And if you're an Autopsy fan, you're really gonna fucking love this.
I am an Autopsy fan, and I do love this, so you're kind of right on that.
Well,
I am also at a 4.5. I do think this might be a bit better than Morbidity Triumphant, and I'm kind of shocked by that, being it so soon after such a killer album. This album, I think, is even more dynamic. The riffs really jump out at you. The deathdoom breakdowns not only are just soul-crushingly heavy. They are tuneful as hell. Chris is on his game again. Like his delivery, it adds so much, like camp and theater and just rage and everything to the performance. And the fact that he's also playing drums and beating the dog shit out of them, that sort of crazy punk style that he has of drumming, like it drives these songs right into an orphanage. The mix is absolutely perfect. Greg Wilkinson's bass work is that is again something I really just took away from this. Like he adds so much to this. He's definitely my favorite new member of Autopsy, because he's added a lot in his, albeit like kind of brief stay so far, but he has added like a really cool dynamic to this. This is fantastic. Like if you're a longtime Autopsy fan, I can't see any reason why you wouldn't like this. And if you're not an Autopsy fan, this probably won't win you over. This will probably scare you off too. But I recommend any death metal fan check this out. I mean, I imagine a lot of them already have, and I totally get it. So get some Autopsy. I need to get more Autopsy stuff. I need an Autopsy shirt.
I do too.
Yeah.
If you guys go on tour with this record, we'll be there. And
I'm gonna buy a shirt.
I'm gonna buy a shirt.
I'm gonna make it a gross one.
I might buy a flag too. I need some merch. Buy me merch. Just kidding. I'll buy my own merch.
Yeah, either way, we're just saying, buy it. Go see this band on tour. Go support them. Autopsy rules. Yes. So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We are also on Patreon. If you'd like to help us out there, there's a link down below to thrallsmetal.com. Our Patreon link is also on our channel, but thrallsmetal.com is where our store is. So if you'd like to get some Thralls Metal shirts, we have new ones, we have old ones at a discounted price, we even have hats. Just click the link down below in the video description, and that is where all of that stuff is.
Last but not least, we're down to our creepy thank yous. Because it's Halloween, we're going to make him even more creepy. Thank you. Thank you to each and every one of you who continue to show up and watch us and comment and do all the wonderful things you guys do. We appreciate it more and more every day. Thralls of Metal has become such a big part of our lives, and we're beside ourselves most days to figure out it's become such a huge part of yours. Couldn't do this without you guys. You guys make this an adventure and something truly awesome that we love to do, and thank you and thank you and...
Thank you. Yeah, no, happy Autopsy Day to everyone out there. And you guys rule, and we will catch you later.